All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We're looking at Justice Delayed, the Amanda Dean explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really heartbreaking timeline. I mean, we're talking about a sudden disappearance, massive systemic failures, and a family's absolute refusal to give up. We're focusing on Amanda Dean. She was a mother of 4 from a tiny rural town in Ohio. And, her story forces us to ask some really tough questions about how missing persons cases and domestic violence are handled. We're going to break the whole thing down so we can truly understand what went wrong and how the truth eventually came to light.
Take a look at this quote right here. She had been located, she was in a safe house, and she was being well taken care of. Now, imagine being a mother or a sister, run into the police station, just terrified, and hearing that from the local sheriff. It sounds like the ultimate sigh of relief, right? Like, oh, thank goodness she's safe. But, and this is the really chilling part, as we're going to see, this single statement from law enforcement was actually hiding a gruesome, tragic truth. It basically shut down the entire search for Amanda for over 5 years.
So, July 11th, 2017, Amanda Dean, a 36-year-old mother of 4 from rural Collins, Ohio, disappears. Let's start our timeline right there. Collins is a very small, remote farming community. Her family described Amanda as this beautiful, wild spirit, a songbird really, who just brought so much energy to everything she touched. So when she vanished without a trace, red flags went up immediately. Her sister actually got this super alarming text from the mother of Amanda's boyfriend saying Amanda wasn't in her cabin. Her family instantly knew something was terribly wrong, because Amanda, she would never just walk away from her boys.
And this brings us to just a glaring, massive contradiction. We need to contrast the sheriff's claim of Amanda being in a safe house with the actual reality of her living situation. So on one side, you've got the sheriff saying she's resting comfortably. But the reality? She had actually been living with her boyfriend, Frederick Rear, in a tiny shack on his parents' property. And when I say shack, I literally mean a shed with a fridge, a bed, and absolutely zero indoor plumbing. If she had to use the bathroom, she had to trek all the way up to the main house. So painting his picture of her being pampered in a secure location, it completely ignored the incredibly vulnerable, impoverished reality she was actually living in.
Well, the result of that false narrative was an absolute tragedy. Look at this timeline. July 2017 to December 2022. That is a staggering 5.5-year gap. It represents a colossal systemic failure. Because the sheriff declared her safe, he just closed the case, totally called off the search. For years, Amanda's family literally begged the sheriff for just a proof of life letter. They'd even bring Christmas cards, birthday cards down to the station for Amanda, just praying they'd be passed along. But nothing. They were completely ignored. And get this, the sheriff didn't even list Amanda in the National Missing Persons database. No way! She was just wiped from the system while her family was stuck in this agonizing limbo.
So how did things finally change? The crucial breakthrough happened when outside help finally stepped up. In December 2022, an advocacy group called Cleveland Missing heard the family's pleas and really threw a spotlight on the case. That public pressure got a local police chief to pull in the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation, the BCI. And the crazy thing is, BCI had to treat this 5-year-old cold case like it was day one. I mean, they literally had to start by printing missing persons flyers. But they did the work, and finally, in November of 2023, they executed a massive search warrant on the Rear property. We're talking excavators, search dogs, the whole shebang.
As investigators started digging into what really went on at that property, they uncovered a deeply troubled relationship. Old police reports showed that Frederick Rear had previously given Amanda a black eye. And Amanda's sister told police that Fred was incredibly controlling. He would constantly take Amanda's phones away, like she literally had to wait for him to pass out or fall asleep just to sneak a text to her own family. It became painfully clear to BCI that Amanda was trapped in a severe cycle of domestic violence. And that's a critical piece of context that was just entirely swept under the rug back in 2017.
Now, without a physical body, which, is usually your smoking gun in a murder case, investigators had to build their case on some really horrific circumstantial evidence. They tracked down witnesses who were actually there at the time. One witness saw a recording cleaning up just massive amounts of blood in that cabin. Another person saw him burning a mattress and other things on a burn pile for 4 days straight. From there, the evidence pointed to the unthinkable. He dismembered her remains, put the bones in a bucket, and dumped them in a creek. It took a 1.5 years of just relentless digging, but BCI finally arrested Frederick Recording.
Okay, to understand the really controversial legal fallout of this arrest, we need to talk about a proffer. So what is a proffer? It's basically an agreement where a defendant gives prosecutors information, and in exchange, that specific info can't be used against them in court. usually to lock in a plea deal. Now, why on earth would the state do this here? Well, prosecuting a murder without a physical body is just a massive uphill battle. It's incredibly risky. The prosecution basically needed Rauncher to spell out exactly what he did and where he put her, just to guarantee he wouldn't walk free on a technicality if it went to trial.
Let's just pause for a second and really think about the absolute agony Amanda's family went through. Look at this quote from her sister Shannon. "We don't even have a single piece of her." You know, the family actually supported the prosecution's decision to do the plea deal. Why? Because they simply couldn't stomach the trauma of a full trial, and they just desperately needed answers. During his proffer, Rear confessed that he burned her so thoroughly that only bones were left, which he then threw off a bridge. So, the family finally got the truth, but the cost was accepting the devastating reality that they could never, ever properly bury Amanda.
And this is where the sheer math of the justice system just feels completely broken. Because of that plea deal, the state downgraded the murder charge to involuntary manslaughter. Let's look at the breakdown of this 14-year sentence. Involuntary manslaughter, 9 years. 2 counts of tampering with evidence got him 2 years each, and gross abuse of a corpse, just 1 year. The judge did run these consecutively, meaning back-to-back, for a total of 14 years. But to the family, and honestly to anyone looking at this, 14 years for killing and dismembering a mother of 4, it felt like an absolute slap in the face. I want you to focus on just the number 1. 1. That single digit is the maximum sentence currently allowed for gross abuse of a corpse in the state of Ohio. 1 year. Frederick Rear literally spent days burning a human being to cover up his crime, and the law said, yep, the absolute worst penalty for that specific act is 365 days. It's a completely shocking legal reality. And as you might guess, it outraged Amanda's family so much that it actually lit a fire under them and sparked a brand new mission.
But real quick, before we talk about that mission, we have to talk about sentencing day. In court, Rear showed zero remorse, literally none. He even had the nerve to ask the judge if he could have a contact visit to hug his mother. I mean, think about how chilling that is. He permanently robbed Amanda's 4 boys of ever hugging their mom again, and he's asking for a hug. But the family, they didn't let him win. They took their power back. The courtroom was absolutely packed, standing room only, and every single person there held up a picture of Amanda. They made darn sure her face was the very last thing Frederick Rear saw as he was dragged off to prison.
Which brings us to today. The Dean family is definitely not stopping at those courtroom doors. Right now, they're working with state reps to pass Amanda Dean's law. The goal? To drastically increase that ridiculous penalty for gross abuse of a corpse. They're proposing a jump from that measly 1 year all the way up to 8 years. But you know, just as important to them is using Amanda's story to raise massive awareness about domestic violence. They want people to know what she went through. They want to yell it from the rooftops so that anyone who feels trapped in a dangerous situation can seek help and find a way out before it's too late.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this question. How can we better recognize the hidden signs of domestic violence before another victim becomes a neglected cold case? Amanda's story is just a tragic, brutal look at what happens when the system fails, when police don't look past their initial assumptions. But at the same time, it's this incredible testament to a family's love and perseverance, right? They absolutely refuse to let her be forgotten. Thanks so much for sticking with me to unpack this really heavy but absolutely crucial topic today. Keep asking those tough questions, look out for each other, and never, ever underestimate the power of demanding the truth.